Hello children, welcome to our 8th social class. Children, in the last class I started the topic ancient civilization. In that I started pre-civilization, that is pre-Vedic period, pre-Rigvedic period, the period between 1500 BCE to 1000 BCE, isn't it children? Then in this we have studied the political life of the people, social life of the people, economic as well as the religious life of the people, and I also told that another part of the Rigvedic, that is post-Rigvedic period, which start from 1000 BCE to 700 BCE. So children, here in the post-Rigvedic period, we are referring again the political, social, economic and religious life of the people, and this is nothing more difficult because you already referred that how the political life of the people, religious life of the people as well as the social and economic condition of the people. So it is little bit extension and innovation in the field of their living, and as here post Rigvedic period, post in the sense it was a extension of a Vedic period, because children we have referred there are the 4 Vedas, which are they Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharvana Veda, isn't it? So here in the pre-Rigvedic period we referred only much and more about the Rigvedic period. Clear children? So here in the post-Vedic period we are referring remaining three Vedas of remaining 3 Vedas, that was Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharvana Veda. So it was a little bit alteration and borrowed content from the Rig Veda, which are there. Yajurveda is little bit extension in the sense, now you take what you referred in the science, that further you are going to study in the 8th, then further again you are going to study in 9th, then completion of the high school subject you will get in a 10th, isn't it? So the same way whatever we referred in a Rig Veda, that was extension and further alteration was done in the Yajurveda. That alteration we can see in a post-Vedic period. So because we have seen, I already told in the previous class that before the Rig Veda was in a oral form in the sense they used to only chant the mantra or hymns, but later on they felt to written it, they made a Rig Veda in a written form. So here we can see the ritual or the customs of a Rig Veda can be seen in the form of a writing. So in that, move on to the first topic, that was called as a political system. So see children, political system is same as what you referred in a post Rigvedic system. Remember children what I told in the political system of a pre-Rigvedic period. In the political period, there the king was a supreme, isn't it? There was a tribal system was there, and each tribe was headed by the king. Here in the post-Rigvedic period, the king was considered as a supreme, or he was considered as a representative of a god. Is it clear children? He was considered as a representative of a god, in the sense that whatever act or whatever deed of a king was considered as a heavenly deed. So here also we can see expansion and invention of a king. Why the expansion? Expansion for the sake of making the kingdom or the village more and more large, and invention for the purpose that making your tribe secure from the attack of the enemy. That was the political system, and here we can see the Rajasuya in the sense where the king was celebrating, or the ceremony was celebrated where he was a supreme. And we also see the one of the ritual, that was a Ashwamedha Yaga. Ashwamedha Yaga you that, right? Where the horse was worshipped and he was sent freely, so that one who captured that horse, he will be invited to fight with the king. So here in the post-Rigvedic period we can see the two custom or the two rituals called Rajasuya or the Ashwamedha Yaga was being done, and remaining also same like expansion, invention by the king to make his territory secure from the enemy. That is up to a political system. Whereas social system, what is the social system? What is the social system? Again, in the post-Rigvedic period, we can see the classification of the Varna. Classification of the Varnas are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudras. These are the classification of the social Varna system, and here also again the belief of a Purusha Sukta. You all know that what is Purusha Sukta? Purusha Sukta is that the person or Adi Purusha, he was a creator of a god, and according to the organs of that Adi Purusha like mouth, shoulder, feet and thighs were compared to the each Varna. So here the same system was also followed in a social system, and here what we can see that the two classes, especially the two classes called Brahmana and Kshatriya, he can perform yajna and other religious rituals, who are they? First, Brahmana and Kshatriya, he can perform all the yajnas, yagas, whichever he required, children. Okay, and whereas Vaishyas are not allowed to perform any kind of the rituals, and he was not even allowed to enter the place where yajnas and yagas has to be held. Where Brahmana and Kshatriya can perform yajnas and yagas, and whereas Kshatriya was not allowed to enter the place where yajnas and yagas has to be done. Whereas then the last one was who? Shudra. He was ill-treated by remaining other three classes. Which are these remaining three? That was Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya. Because here you see the Brahmana and Kshatriya, he used to receive the grant from the Vaishyas. Children, where Vaishya was not allowed to perform any yagas and yajnas. In case suppose he failed to perform the yaga, that has to be done through the means of a Brahmana. It means that suppose if he want to do any yajnas, he has to ask or he has to approach the Brahmana on behalf of the Vaishya, so that Brahmana can perform the yajnas and yaga. In return, that Vaishya has to be contribute him certain percentage of a land or the animals. He has to contribute or he has to donate to the Brahmana. That was the terms and the conditions, children. I hope this is clear. Whereas Shudra was not at all allowed to perform, or even he was not given any permission, thought of thinking regarding that yajnas and yagas, because he was completely ill-treated by the remaining three classes of the society. Here again, who are the Shudras? Here Shudras tribes are Dasyu, Dasa and Pani. These are the tribes of the Shudras, and you may ask why they are treated so ill. They are treated so ill because there is an assumption that they used to eat the water, they used to drink, they used to assume or they used to consume the somarasa, and they are eating buffalo meat. These are the assumption by the higher Varna that they used to do all the low grade work so that they will be kept aside from the society, and their slaves were used only to work in their agricultural field, and all the ill treatment made the Shudras to revolt or go against of a higher class people. So you may have observed in the previous class I told who are the enemies of the tribe. The enemy are these only, who Dasyu, Dasas tribe only, because when these people ill-treated these people, they were going against of these tribes and they used to attack them, and in return they attacked these Shudras. So there is a mutual conflict between Brahmanas and the Shudras tribe. So one who were defeated by the Brahmanas, they were kept as in prison. They were kept in a prison, and again return they were used as a slave, so that the slaves will be sold and that slaves will be used in a agricultural field. Children, I hope this is clear to you. Then what was the condition of the woman in the society? How the woman was? Here in the society, post-Rigvedic period, the woman was not given any much liberty. She was only reserved to the work of the household, and whereas here you can see the custom called polygamy. Polygamy in the sense, if suppose the woman's husband died, she was allowed to go for a second marriage, that too only in the royal family. See children, I will repeat. Polygamy in the sense, widow remarriage was encouraged. Polygamy in the sense, widow remarriage was encouraged only in the royal kingdom. So that was a system, and there is no practice of a child marriage. See, that was a good system that we can observe in the time of a post-Rigvedic period. Isn't it children? There was no existence of a child marriage during the time of a post-Rigvedic period. That was a post-Rigvedic term. Whereas, and now let's move on to the another topic, that was a economic condition of a people. Economic life. How the economic life of the people? How? See here, you observe that I told in the end, in the previous class, not exact the last class, before last class I told you, when I was referring to the topic called decline of a civilization, isn't it children? You refer the reasons because of the deforestation, or it may be because of the flood. People are migrated move from the Sindhu river to Ganga river, isn't it children? That has been occurred during the time of a post-Rigvedic period. Till in the pre-Rigvedic period, they remained settled down in a one particular period, that was near in the Sindhu river, and when the period was move on, that when they came to the post-Rigvedic period, they observed that the valley through the Sindhu river has become less fertile. So what they have done, they started to cut the tree for the purpose of the agriculture. They found it that more and more land we required for the agriculture, because existing and remaining land which felt that was not so fertile for the cultivation. So what they have done, the remaining tree was the forest, they started to cut off. Then again they again move on to Sindhu river to Sindhu from Ganga river, they are started to move on. Then again they cut all the trees and forests for the sake of the cultivation, and here we can observe that mainly that they are using 10 or nearly 12 ox for the purpose of a cultivation. See children, usually we see 1 or 2 ox for the cultivation, but in those periods they used to use 10 or 12 ox for the purpose of agriculture. Then you see what might be the condition of the agricultural area, or how it could be, or what big extent of a cultivation, isn't it? Now for us only one tractor is enough, or 2 we hardly use, or 4 hardly we will use. If we are doing manual cultivation by using an animal, ox or a bull, we use 1 or 2 or a 4, but in that time they used to use 10 or a 12 ox for the purpose of a cultivation. Then apart from that, here the wealth of the person was calculated on the basis of a percentage of the animal and the land he acquired. Clear children? So on the basis of a land as well as on the basis of a cattle which he acquired, on the basis of that the person wealth was calculated. Suppose if he has a more land and more cattle, he will be considered as the richest among the society. This is the same condition we also observed in a pre-Rigvedic period, isn't it, children? There also the person, one who possesses the more land, he will be considered as a more richest person. And here we also observed that there is a receiving and giving the grant of a land. Grant in the sense, a king used to receive the grant from the farmer as well as the Vaishyas, and the Kshatriya can also receive the grant from the Vaishyas. So here receiving and granting of a land can be seen, and mainly here we can see the technology called converting iron to steel. What was the technology? Converting iron to steel. That was the technology we can observe in the post-Rigvedic period, because I hope you remember that in the last class when I was in a pre-Rigvedic period, there I told their people are unaware of the metal called iron. They don't know what iron is. They using charcoal as their weapons or a wooden weapon for the purpose of agriculture, whereas in the post-Rigvedic period they invented the technology that was making iron to a steel. That was a great, that which they are innovated. Remember this, when you are reading a textbook you get this point, so you underline. In the post-Rigvedic period, people are inventing the technology that was converting iron to a steel, that they are innovated. And the last remaining one was religious life of the people. Religious life in the sense, in the pre-Rigvedic period I told religious, they used to conduct the yagnas and yagas for the purpose of two reasons. Which are the two reasons? One is that get the victory on their enemy. The enemies are the Shudras tribe, and other one to get the rain on a time. That was the main reason, even which they are following in the post-Rigvedic period. And I also told that there is only a one concept called God, which was Rudra. They don't know who is Vishnu. Whereas in the post-Rigvedic period, they know both Rudra, Lord Rudra, and Vishnu. These two gods also existed in the period of a post-Rigvedic period. Apart from that, there is one more belief that there is a concept called Upanishad. They believed in the concept called Upanishad. In the Upanishad, they believed karma. They believed that karma and rebirth. See, as per the Upanishad, they believed in the karma and rebirth of a soul. What does it mean? See, here observe that karma in the sense, the deed which you do in the present life, as per that your next birth will be decided. I hope this is clear, children. See, whatever deeds you are doing in this present life, that will reflect on your next birth, because they are believe in the concept called incarnation, that I told that even in the pre-Rigvedic period also they believed. Incarnation in the sense, a person, one who will take birth again. So incarnation in the sense, punarjalma we can say. So karma, as per the Upanishad, they say that a person, one who do the good karma, he will take a rebirth. His soul will take a rebirth. And if you do the good, then your soul will get the good birth. If you are doing a bad one, then your rebirth will be as bad as your deed. That was a belief of a Upanishad. Then after that, remaining all same. The ritual, the custom which they are following are all same. So this is up to both pre-Rigvedic period and post-Rigvedic period, children. So I told you, whenever you are reading a textbook, you make a point wise and make your answer simplified, so that if you get the question on write a social life of a Rigvedic period, post-Rigvedic period, nearly 5 or 6 points you can summarize and you can write. That much is enough, children, okay, for the point. Whereas religious, social and political lives are common. Only few similarities you can observe here. that I mentioned, where I both in a religious as well as a economic life. Economic life is that where they innovated the technology of a iron to a steel. Here they again in the religious life they again innovated the new concept called karma and rebirth of a soul that we cannot see in the pre-Rigvedic period. These are the two concepts. So children, here this lesson will end up. In this lesson, whatever we referred that Harappan civilization. In the Harappan civilization, we have referred significance of the town. Then how the town life was that. Then the end of the civilization. Then Rigvedic period. In the Rigvedic period, again there is a classification: pre-Rigvedic and post-Rigvedic. In that subdivision, we referred as the political, social, economics and religious life of the people. And till here the lesson was completed, and regarding this notes I will send today, and you have to read this because it will come in your FA. This is one of the syllabus for your FA topic, children, and read well. See you in the next class.